Yeah, I do. Since I lived in the Middle East, Jihadi Jeff is kind of. But I mean, only a few guys that that really know my backstory in Dubai call me that. It's just a little joke amongst us, but.
Maybe it'll get changed to RV Jeff.
Well, hopefully. I mean, you can't pick your nickname, so
right.
It is what it is. But definitely would like something a little different. I was actually the operations manager for a gas compression company.
Oh wow, okay.
So I was responsible for all of their sites from Egypt to Bangladesh. So I went there for work, and it's a great place. The only bad part about it is a lot of companies bring people in for 2 or 3 year stints, and then they transfer them out somewhere else. So, I mean, in the 4 years I was there, I probably went through 3 or 4 complete different groups of friends, which makes it kind of tough. But at the same time, we had a softball league, plenty of golf courses, bars and restaurants are great. So it's a great place, and the weather outside of July and August, when it's 120 every day and everybody thinks it's the desert, it's a dry heat, but it's right there in the Persian Gulf. So yeah, maybe during the day it's a little dry, but as soon as that sun drops, all that moisture also drops out of the air. So 10, 11 o'clock at night, it's still 100 degrees and 80% humid. So that part, but that's 2 or 3 months in the summer. The winters are great, 85 degrees, sunny every day. Golf. Dubai Desert Classic was there. Abu Dhabi was right up the road from where I live, so I'd like to caddy in those tournaments one day, kind of like my non-major majors. So
yeah, when people talk about that dry heat, I think we cook turkeys in dry heat, so it's still hot.
It's still hot. So when I moved back, I had a little bit of money saved up after it was good money over there, but it just wasn't for me anymore. So I had a little bit of money saved up, and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. And I played college golf at a small college in Illinois. So at one point I was a pretty decent player, but never quite to this level. And I caddies as a kid, so I thought, well, I'll go out to the West Coast. It was the winter time, so I'll go out to the West Coast and see if I can pick up the bag on the PGA Tour. Wow, that was a rude awakening. The best advice I got, I did a Monday Pro-Am in San Diego, and we got the guy I was caddying for was paired with Stuart Appleby, and his caddy at the time, Damian Lopez. And Damian said, listen, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but if the guys don't know you, it's too big of a risk to hire you out here. If you can, and you have the money to do it, buy a plane ticket to South America. That's where the Web Nationwide Tour at the time, the Web.com now, was for the first couple events. And he goes, if nothing else, guys will hire you just because they want someone to speak English with and joke around with on the golf course. So perfect. Went back to where I was staying that week and got on the internet, and anybody I could find from Q School the previous year, anybody I could find on Facebook or Twitter. I sent them a message and told them what I was trying to do, and gave them a little background story about me. And the guy I work for now, Tyron Vanasigan, sent me back. He didn't have anybody set up for the first 2 events in South America, Panama and Colombia. He said, if you can get down there, give it a shot. So thanked him, profusely for the opportunity, and booked a flight immediately, and emailed him back and said, this is my flight information when I get in. He said, I'm getting in on Monday. I'll meet you at the course first thing Tuesday. So flew to Panama, stayed at a hostel that week, which, staying at hostels is great. I mean, there's so many different people from around the world. And then made my way to the host hotel, caught the bus to the course. A couple hours before he said he was going to get to the course, met up with him. Never met him before, but saw his name on his bag as he was carrying it up, and introduced myself and made the cut that week, and then tied for 8th in Colombia the next week. And here we are 8 years later and still in the bag. So
That's great. So I imagine you guys have become pretty good friends over the years too, staying together that long.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people say it's like, you know, a little bit like a marriage, caddy and player. And you know, there's disagreements, of course. You know, we spend a lot of time together, so and occasionally he'll see things differently on the course than I will. But yeah, for the most part, we get along great, and you know, he's a great player, so he's very easy to work for, so that's great.
I'm sure you must have a lot of fellow caddies who are pretty envious of that too, being together that long. That's not very common on tour.
Yeah, Ty and I actually were talking about that earlier this year, because there was a little bit of a shakeup earlier this year with some longer term caddies. So we were trying to figure out where we were on the list of, you know, longevity. And the best we could tell, we're in the top 10 somewhere, but you know, nobody really knows for sure.
Did you say we don't need to go looking at that list?
No,
Everything's good.
no. I mean, all's good. So.